Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, and I thank you for being alive. I thank you for listening. So in 2019, we're going to hit the road. So if you're looking for bringing the billionaire lifestyle to an audience that you think it would benefit, contact Emmett Muckles at emmettmuckles.com/contact. It's that simple. Just contact Emmett Muckles. You can't forget that. I was a kid. You can't forget his name. Anyway, today on the Billionaire Lifestyle, I got my man Kyle.
Come on now, Reidhead.
I was just messing with you. We got Kyle Reidhead talking about health, the impacts of health, your job, your life. So there's only one way that you can really live the billionaire lifestyle, and Kyle Reidhead embodies that. So there's some things that are most valuable, and it's not money. It is time and health. How are you, Kyle?
Hey, I am fantastic. Really appreciate you having me on your podcast, Emmett. Time and health is absolutely everything. So I love that you just said that. Health is so important, and it's, you know what, it's something that a lot of us just don't care about as much anymore, and or maybe we do, but we just don't know how to keep up with it. So I absolutely love coming on podcasts and sharing my knowledge and everything I know, so that I can help others reach their maximum potential, so that they can live their billionaire lifestyle too.
Right. So how did you come to this? How did you get to the point where you are now? I mean, was it epiphany where you, like me, you saw a bunch of people who were obese? Or my driving factor is I grew up in Detroit, and I would see these really fit guys. I mean, guys who are cut and have muscles and low body fat, but they've suffered a stroke. Mm-hmm. And they're young. They're not even 40. They're not even, some of them aren't even 30. And, or you see people with all these diseases that are just cropping up nowadays. And a lot of it pertains to how we fuel our temple. So what was your epiphany that brought you to the awareness and being the expert that you are?
So, I've always been kind of interested in fitness, and I guess you could call it health since a young age. I was an athlete, played sports, but I mean, when I was in high school, my goal was always just to get big. I want to get big and jacked like any young guy, right? And so I'd be crushing, chocolate milk every day and peanut butter and bread, doing everything I can to just eat as many calories as possible.
Right.
And I thought I was this healthy guy, right? Because I went to the gym and I thought I ate somewhat healthy. And, I kind of continued this lifestyle for a while. And, I worked in sales, had a great job in kind of corporate sales. And, you start to notice your body, and I'm still relatively young, but you still start to notice your body start to break down a little bit. You get tired throughout the day. You don't have the energy that you want. You kind of get that brain fog. You're not waking up feeling rested. And I just kind of thought to myself, I'm a little bit smarter than this. I know a little bit about health. I went to school for kinesiology. Why do I feel like crap every day? And, especially when you're in sales or living, working in a corporate job, you're busy, you don't sleep as much, you're stressed, all this kind of stuff. And so I started kind of to research more and dive into sort of the health aspect, and I guess you'd call it biohacking, and just realize that, if you just focus on improving your health, eating clean, moving and sleeping well and managing your stress and kind of doing all this preventative stuff, not only will you feel a lot better, but you'll optimize the way that you focus and your attention and your memory and how well you perform even at work. And so I really started to dial into my nutrition, dial in my exercise, and making sleep a priority, doing all this stuff. And I felt amazing. I felt absolutely phenomenal. I was able to perform so much better at work, and I go into work with all this energy. Everyone else is so tired, just guzzling coffee, and I'm just flying around this office, and I'm like, this is sweet. I like this. And so that kind of led me to start my own company, Health Simple, where basically I teach others to how to live a similar lifestyle, and I kind of simplify it and make it easy for others to do, because health is a very controversial and complicated subject for a lot of people. And then that led me to do one-on-one coaching, because, you can give as much information as you want, and, people love it. They listen to podcasts, they, read some stuff on Instagram and read blogs, but without accountability, without, someone to coach them, a lot of people, they just need that. And so, I went that route, and, I love it. It's fulfilling for me. It's a lot more fulfilling than sales was. So, last year,
more fulfilling than sales? Come on.
You know what, though? Everything is sales. I mean, I'm a coach, so that's still sales. Everything in life is sales. So I absolutely love that I had that opportunity in my life. But now I'm able to take those skill sets and move it to helping people improve their lifestyle and improve their performance in the workplace too. So last year I left my job in Toronto and to do this full time, and just recently moved to Bali, Indonesia to live, surf.
I'm hating on you right now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the path that led me to where I am today.
And who did your website? Your website is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, and ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. It flows so well. I am envy because he put my website to shame. But you go to healthsimpleinfo.com and you see this beautiful picture. And right above, he has ebook, he has the blog, he has a link to the podcast. But here's the best one. He has recipes that can be broken down for lunch, dinner, breakfast, and a whole host of other information. So who put this together for you? This is so dope.
So, you know what, actually, it was in part myself, and then a buddy of mine, I'll give him a shout out. His name's Jason Duckett, but he's kind of a graphic designer and does a little bit of web development stuff on the side. He's a big marketing manager in Toronto, but so he kind of built the framework for me, and the design for the most part was kind of just me screwing around. I'm not very good at it, so it took me a while, but
I understand.
I find it somewhat fun. So put some time into it, and I'm glad you like it. I really appreciate that. The recipes are sweet. That's not me though. That's two friends of mine, a husband and wife. They actually they make these recipes, and they do actually a cooking show on YouTube. And they kind of explain how to cook all these recipes and how to make healthy meals. So I appreciate them for doing that.
I find that so weird in this day and age. For all the technology that we have, for all the information that we have, most people cannot cook.
Yeah.
Most people cannot dissect the chicken. They just put the whole chicken in the oven and hope for the best. So you must do the same thing. Here's a chicken. Put it in the oven.
I mean, I've been. That was kind of one of my goals in 2018 was to learn how to cook well, because I used to eat a lot of the same meals. They were healthy, but it was pretty much the same, every day. So I made it a goal of mine to make a new recipe every week, and thankfully those who are making those recipes for me on website, I would just make those. So I learned a lot. So now I like to think that I'm a good cook, but you know what? It's true. Because, and it's probably over the past 30, 40 years, because there's been a lot of just pre-made foods and pre-packaged foods and fast foods, we don't have to cook as much anymore. And, this is probably one of the biggest problems with our health. And the reason why we have so much disease and obesity is because of these pre-packaged foods, because a lot of them are fake. They have preservatives and chemicals and tons of sugar added in them. It's so bad for not just our bodies, but for our brain. And this is a big reason why we have these energy problems throughout the day and the brain fog is because of these foods. So honestly, with my clients, one of the first things I have to do, believe it or not, and I never thought this would be it, is I got to teach them how to make real food, how to cook.
That's amazing.
Which is, I thought that was crazy, but that's the world we live in. And most people I talk to, that's their main problem is they eat out all the time because it's so easy to do. And so that's kind of where I have to start quite often, which, hey, that's the way it goes.
So when you get someone who identifies with your mission, your journey, where do you start?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the individual. There's when it comes to health, there's so many different components, and they all are sort of interconnected with one another. So let's say there's nutrition, there's your movement or your exercise, there's your sleep, which is very, very important, and people don't really realize. And then there's stress management, and especially if you're a business professional, you usually live a busy and stressful life. So there's managing that as well, and all of those will sort of reflect on each other. So if your sleep isn't good, you're going to eat bad, and you're not going to exercise as well, and you're probably not going to manage your stress very well, and vice versa. So it's really this sort of puzzle that you have to sort of figure out. So I'll sit with a client. We'll talk for an hour. That's my initial consultation, and we'll dive deep into everything about their life, about their sleep, about their nutrition, and I'll sort of from that determine, okay, where do we need to start? Maybe it's some sleep hygiene stuff. So getting a bit of a routine before you go to sleep so that you can actually fall asleep quicker.
That's funny.
And get good quality sleep. It's crazy, but you know what? It makes a world of difference.
It does make a world of difference.
It could just be starting with, adding in some vegetables and some real food. The boring stuff, the stuff that people don't really want to hear. People probably want to hear, oh, it's these crazy supplements or this cool thing, but it's the basics, man. It's the fundamentals. I call it being a human first, right? And because, if you want to be a CEO, if you want to be an athlete, if you want to be a scientist or a lawyer, whatever, you're still a human. And before you're anything, you're going to be a human. And we have requirements, right? We have to drink water. We know that. We have to eat certain foods. We need certain nutrients. We need sleep. Exactly. So I just try to make sure that we've got the requirements and the fundamentals first. And then from there, once we've got the fundamentals, then we can dive in and go, okay, let's optimize, let's biohack, let's do these cool techniques to sort of, be able to get rid of stress or sort of optimize your cognitive function. So you have these superpowers, we call it. So it just kind of depends on what your level's at.
Do you find that many people are really not getting enough sleep?
Yes. I don't remember what the exact stat is, but I think it's somewhere close to 80% of people are not getting enough sleep. So we require at least 7 hours of sleep, but most people are getting 6 or less, especially if you live in a big city. Then you're more than likely getting less. And the thing is that what people don't realize, so sleep is the time where your body and your brain kind of rejuvenates and it recycles and it recovers. But it also is when all of your hormones are balanced and they actually create most of your hormones while you sleep. So for example, most of your growth hormone is created when you're sleeping. Growth hormone is what you need to create new muscle, which is important for staying lean and staying mobile. So a lot of your hormones are actually created sleeping. But if you sleep for less than 6 hours, you have about half of those hormones are being created. So it's cut in half. Ew. So it's a massive difference, even from just a few hours of sleep deprivation. So it's honestly, it's probably one of the areas that I start with for most of my clients, because most don't realize the importance of sleep and most just don't do anything to try to improve their sleep.
Also, you have an awesome Instagram. So do you do a lot of I see that you have a lot of live postings that you're doing, so is that just like the 1 minute snippets to help people keep them on track, keep them focused, who are following you?
So those are clips. A lot of those are clips from my podcast that I just kind of cut out. And those I do because when you're scrolling through Instagram, I think a lot of people are scrolling through, they see pictures of their friends and their family and that, but it's also a great, it's a great channel or a great platform to teach. And so, I like to try to teach as much as I can through Instagram because it's free. And little tidbits are great for people because they're practical, and it's kind of, you can watch that 1 minute clip of whatever it is I'm talking about, and you can go and you can implement that right away. And I think that's kind of what people need, right? They need something that they can just go and do instantly. So I try to do that as much as possible through Instagram. I think it's a great platform for that. So that's where I spend most of my time.
Is there a difference between strength, which is being jacked, because guys like to just go get jacked, and now girls are starting to do it too. There are some really jacked girls out there.
Yeah.
Versus functional strength, because I've moved away from lifting weights so much, heavy weights, because I bulk up and I look like Bane's darker brother. So I had to stop scaring babies. So I kind of moved back. And I also realized that when you explicitly work out for weights to gain muscle, oftentimes you lose a lot of mobility. Do you work with clients to find out what their goals are and give them a regime or steer them in a direction so that they can be functional and strong and mobile as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for me, I'm never going to put someone through kind of the bodybuilding type workouts where it's like half range of motion, half reps, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it can work to maybe pump up some muscles. But you're right. It's not great for mobility. It's not great for your joints. It's not good for longevity, which for me is the most important thing. And I think for most clients too, is they just want to stay healthy and be able to move for a long time, right? The worst thing would be when you're 45, 50 years old and all of a sudden you're bent over, you can barely sit up, you can barely get out of your chair. Nobody wants that because, well, what's the point? And even if you have a lot of money, what's the point if you can't really move or you can't do anything?
Oh, say that again. If you have the money, but you can't live life.
You can't move. What's the point, right? So regardless if you're looking to build muscle or you're looking to lose weight, I'm going to put you through a resistance training program, but it's going to be functional. So it's going to be all the main human movements like squatting. This is something we need to do basically every single day. A deadlift is something that you do to bend over to pick up an object at home, right? A lunge or maybe a push-up, maybe a row, all the kind of main complex movements that are functional, that move all of your joints in a full range of motion. These are the movements that I'm always going to get someone to do. And this is what's going to help you build muscle. And for most people, you're not going to get big and jacked from it. You're just going to get strong, dense muscles, which is a very optimal thing for a human to have because it helps you digest carbohydrates. It helps you stay lean. It helps you stay healthy. So there's a lot of benefits to having strong muscle. So I try to put everybody on a resistance training program. I think that's the best type of exercise anyone can do. If you're afraid of getting big and jacked, usually that's only going to happen to people who are eating a ton of calories, maybe they're on steroids or just happen to have amazing genes like you and, you can lift a weight and all of a sudden you get jacked.
Yeah, because a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a 5x5 workout and didn't calculate, was just throwing plates on. And I'm doing this deadlift. And I'm like, my goodness, this thing is heavy. And I pull that baby up like 5 times. The next day, I am just hurting. And I was like, why am I hurt? I usually lift that stuff. She was like, you didn't really calculate. She was like, you were lifting like 305. I was like, oh, that's why. I'm over 50, man. You gotta put it in. But do you find that when you put women on resistance training programs, they are hesitant because they have this feeling like they're going to bulk up and look kind of manly?
Yes. And this is, I'm actually in the middle of writing an ebook about weight loss. And all the clients, I have a lot of weight loss clients. And they always are, not always, but most of the time are afraid for resistance training. And here's the thing. Everyone, when they want to lose weight, they want to run or they want to do cardio.
Yeah. And
what I suggest is go into a gym, look at the people that are running on a treadmill or on a bike, and then look at the people that are lifting weights and tell me which body type you want. I guarantee you it's not going to be the ones doing cardio. And the reason for this is that cardio is not actually the best thing at all for weight loss or staying lean, because what cardio does is when you do endurance training or cardiovascular activity, it creates a stimulus to your body to get better at cardiovascular activity. So 2 things happen. One, you get more efficient at it, which means you burn less calories the more you do cardio, which means now you have to do more cardio in order to lose more weight. No one wants to do that. And number 2, it creates a stimulus to get rid of muscle. And this is no good because muscle is what increases your metabolic rate at rest. So it's what burns more calories when you're just chilling at home on a podcast like right now. So you want muscle to actually successfully lose weight. And I actually just posted a video on it, I think a couple hours ago on my Instagram, and it explains it all there. So cardio is actually going to be less efficient for weight loss, yet it's where everyone goes to lose weight. What you want to do is lift weights and progressively overload so you get stronger and stronger. Now, as a female, first of all, as anyone, it's difficult to gain muscle. It's very, very difficult. You got to work your ass off in the gym. You got to eat a lot of food. So it's not easy. So if you're worried about going into the gym, doing a little bit of training and getting big, trust me, it's not going to happen. If it was easy, the amount of men out here that want to gain muscle and get big and can't, you know what I mean? Talk to them. But especially as a female, you don't have the hormonal makeup to gain muscle size like a male does. So you don't have the testosterone and growth hormone makeup like we do. So even if you are doing a lot of resistance training, you're not going to necessarily get bigger. You're going to get more toned, which is probably what you want. And you're going to get stronger. And that's going to allow you to just burn and shred fat so much easier. You're actually going to become this fat burning machine. So it's a little bit of a battle with clients sometimes, but once I kind of teach them the concept, I think they understand it and they know that, okay, I got to get in there and lift some weights.
So with the movement of CrossFit, people see these things, and the internet is notorious for kind of false information, which means if you're a novice, all you see are people who are, way past where you are, and you're thinking, I got to get into it. And a lot of people get turned off because they realize it's work and the progression is slow, which means you will see yourself gain weight faster than you will see yourself lose weight, but it takes work and persistence. What mechanisms do you have to keep people on track and to break their cycle of ignorance so that they can stay in the right mode?
Yeah, good question. I love that. For me, I like to, people have goals. They usually have long-term goals. Let's say in 3 months, I want to lose this much weight, or this year I want to, do this. And for me, I like to break it down and break it down into like your week. What is your weekly goal, right? And maybe it's, I want to go to the gym 3 times, or I want to get to this weight of lifting, or I want to eat this many homemade meals. But I like to simplify and go, okay, let's break it down into a weekly goal and focus on just that week. Let's win that week. And then if you could do that, let's win the next week. And let's just keep doing that. And for some people, I may even go, let's just win the day. So let's focus on today. Write a to-do list the night before and go, okay, what do I need to accomplish today so that I can accomplish my goal for the week, so that I can accomplish my goal for the 3 months or whatever your long-term goal is. So I love to just break it down, really, simplify it and go, here are the things I need to do right now to put me on track. And so that's what I do with my clients. I have weekly calls with clients so that they're kind of accountability calls. And basically we set up a goal and we go, okay, today's Monday. Here's what we want to accomplish by next Monday. I'll see you next Monday face to face here online on Zoom. You better not fail. If you're coming back to me next Monday, I want to know that you achieved it, because you got to come here and tell me, did you succeed or did you fail? So putting that pressure and then breaking it down to simplify it, I think for a lot of people is a huge thing, because I think a lot of people don't really organize it that way. They just sort of go, okay, here's my goal. And they just kind of go throughout their day, and maybe they get to it, maybe they don't. But when you simplify it to the day or you simplify it to the week, it makes it a lot easier. There's a book, there's a bunch of books on this, but the one is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Not sure if you've ever read it. It's probably my favorite book. I've read it a few times now. And he just talks about how whatever your goal is, and even if it's health or if it's finances or it's your career, you have choices, and these little choices that you make every single day. So let's say your goal is weight loss. Well, you have a choice when you wake up. Do I go to McDonald's and get a breakfast sandwich, or do I make myself, an omelet, right? And, if you focus on making those choices, there's no in between. You're either going to the direction of your goal or you're going the opposite way. So when you make a good positive choice, that builds momentum. And then the next time you go to make that choice, it's easier for you to make that positive choice. You continue to focus on that and do that. You build momentum, and you have kind of that compound effect where all of a sudden now that choice has become natural, and it's just this subconscious decision that you make. So really focusing on your decisions and then continuing to turn it into a habit so that it's no longer a decision for you. You just wake up and you have that omelet instead of the whatever it is from McDonald's.
Yep, put it on automatic pilot in the brain. Speaking of brains and biohacking, my introduction to biohacking was Tim Ferriss. So I did the slow carb diet, except there was one drawback to the slow carb diet. You
Okay.
don't have any actual carbs, so that's brain food.
Yeah.
And I basically became Bane and the Hulk if they had a child. I was just angry all the time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
how can people effectively biohack their brain to improve their performance?
Yeah, good question. So there's a lot of ways, and it depends on where you're currently at. I mean, probably the best thing for cognitive performance is getting into a state of ketosis. So you're using ketones for energy rather than sugar. Ketones are a much cleaner source of energy, so you don't have a lot of sort of waste, and it also gives you more energy than sugar would. So ketosis is what you get from either fasting or eating a high-fat, low-carb diet, or a ketogenic diet, for those of you who may know that. This is probably the best way to sort of get your brain working at kind of an optimal rate. For most people, not everyone does well on a ketogenic diet, but I don't recommend a ketogenic diet if you don't know how to eat healthy in the first place. If you're someone who commonly eats fast food, or packaged foods, or orders Uber Eats all the time, a ketogenic diet, one, isn't going to be sustainable for you, and you're probably not going to do too well on it. So you got to learn to get the basics of eating first, which is eating whole foods, vegetables, meat, fruits, beans, legumes, seeds, nuts, these kind of things. Once you get that, then it's okay. Now remove the carbs, and all of a sudden, boom, your brain will go, whoa, and you get into this next level. And then what you can do is start to add some intermittent fasting into it, and you'll get even more focus. And then what you can do is maybe add in a bulletproof coffee in the morning while you're fasting, which is...
you said the bulletproof coffee with the butter.
So you can do butter. You can do grass-fed butter with MCT oil. You can do just coconut oil, and you blend it, and it kind of is a creamy taste. But I'll tell you, even if you're not fully in a ketogenic state, but you intermittent fast and you wake up and before you eat, if you have a coffee, so you get the caffeine, which is a stimulant for your brain, you add a little bit of healthy fats and some MCT oil in there, you got superpowers for the next 2-3 hours.
Are you talking
Dive
about,
into your work for those hours and you'll feel fantastic.
Are you talking about like MCT oil, like coconut oil or macadamia nut oil?
You got it. Yeah. So MCT oil is it's a medium chain triglyceride. So it's a compound from the coconut oil. You can actually buy it in concentrated form. So it's like a liquid, and you just throw like a tablespoon of it in your coffee. Usually you want to put some sort of food in with it, like a fat, because it's kind of hard to digest MCT oil. So that's why you include the butter or maybe some coconut oil or
that makes sense now. I get it.
That just helps kind of digest it. And then that, honestly, for the next 2-3 hours, you'll have superhuman powers. That's when I get my best work in. I'll do my podcast at that time, or I'll write a book. I'll do whatever I can because, right then your brain is just working. You're focused. It's amazing. But it takes time to get there. You don't want to just jump right into intermittent fasting, ketogenic diet, doing bulletproof coffee, because your body won't know what's going on. It'll kind of trip out. Your hormones will be all kind of whack. You want to train your body to get into that stage. So again, the process, eat real food first, learn to do that. Then you can start to get into a ketogenic state by eating high fat and removing the carbs. Then maybe you bring in some intermittent fasting and then go the bulletproof coffee route. And that really dials it in. I mean, there's a lot of other things you can do too, but that's one of my favorites for sure.
Is there a difference between the ages? Let's say someone who is 18 to 32 versus someone who is 40 and up.
Difference in what exactly?
Is it your approach to how they maintain their health?
Okay, gotcha. You know what? In the beginning, no. In the beginning, it's really about the basics again. So your nutrition, your sleep, etc. So I mean, that's the same for everyone. For older people, we may have, depending on their mobility and their health, we may have different types of workouts, or we may not even get them exercising off the bat. It may just be kind of movement because they don't do a whole lot of just walking or that kind of stuff. For older people, I do recommend more protein. So you have when you get above the age, we say 30, but I'd say it's probably a little bit older than that. You kind of your protein metabolism is much greater, so you're going to degrade protein more. So you're going to break down your muscle a lot faster. So I actually recommend having higher doses of protein if you're older. I may also recommend more fish oils just to sort of help with cognitive function, which, by the way, not necessarily a biohack, but if you're not having fish oils, so a good solid either fish oil or krill oil as a supplement, I highly recommend it. Probably one of the most important for brain function. So with my older clients, that's one of the first supplements I'll get them right away.
Awesome. Did you, you're in Bali, so is there a language barrier there?
You know what? Bali is very multicultural. So there's people from countries all over. So, you meet a lot of like Europeans and Americans actually, and Australians and that. And they even run a lot of the businesses here too. With the Indonesians, there's a little bit of language barrier, but it's not too bad. Most of them know English enough. If not, there's translator apps and things that you can use, but at least in Bali, it's pretty good. I think if you go to other parts of Indonesia, it wouldn't be the same. But I haven't kind of traveled throughout just yet. I'm kind of stuck here in Bali at the moment.
That's right. Stay in your lane. You know it's safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of people have sedentary jobs nowadays.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to be mobile. As a matter of fact, I have my Samsung watch. This is no plug. It's just truth. And if I sit too long, it says, get moving. Yeah. But, a lot of people can't do that. So how can you balance that out when you're kind of stuck in a particular, like a 6-foot area where you're not moving a bunch, but you want to get this in and you have a family and life and a commute time? How do you manage all that?
Yeah, great question. And you know what? This is a big, big thing for a lot of people because so many of us work in offices or maybe work from home and we're sitting all day. And sitting is essentially the new smoking, they call it, right? Sitting is one of the worst things you can do. I usually record my podcast and do my work standing up. So either have a stand-up desk if you don't have one and you work in a corporate office, force your boss to get you one. Or I usually make some makeshift ones out of stacking some chairs and some tables together because standing makes a huge difference. One, for weight loss, but two, just for overall health. So I would start there because when you're standing, you can just kind of move back and forth. You can do some stretches while you're working. You can kind of just be a little bit more mobile. And it seems a little bit stupid, I guess, but it makes a massive difference. The other thing is you have that watch there. And if you don't have a watch, set your alarm, but get up and just walk for a minute. You know what I mean? Every hour, if you can just get up and move around for a minute, then that makes a world of a difference just to kind of get the blood flowing and get your metabolism up a little bit. The other thing is, and by the way, you're sitting on an exercise ball, I think.
How can you tell? Because I'm bouncing.
Yeah, you're bouncing. So that's a good one too. That keeps the core tight and engaged. So that's good. The other thing is outside of the office, resistance training. So building muscle is huge for this because it's going to keep your body active and your metabolism high while you're at work, which you want and you need to remain healthy. Being overweight or obese isn't just about looks. There's actually a lot of health components to it too. So being lean and having muscle is really important. It's not just this thing that looks good on Instagram. It's actually good for your health. It's good for your performance. It's good for longevity. So, those who have more muscle can actually withstand, longer days of sitting and that kind of thing. So, there's the things that you can do at work, which is moving and standing and just trying to be as fidgety as possible, just kind of moving around. But then there's also the component before or after work, which is exercise. So there's that. Those are probably the most important things I would say.
What about people who are insomniacs?
So what do you mean by that? What do you mean?
I'm an insomniac.
Okay.
I used to wake up. Well, I've gotten a lot better because I used to wake up at 2:32 to 2:37 every night or every other night and would be up till 5, but then I had to get out into the world by like 7.
Yeah.
So I had to reduce alcohol intake.
Good.
Smoking, got rid of that, stop eating so much meat, and I focus in every day and I go to bed at a minimum, I'm in bed by like 9:45. My
Nice.
goal is to be asleep by 11 because that gives me a good 7 hours. But from time to time, I'll have a wake up, bing, and I am awake.
How to get back.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? This is super important. You know, I already talked kind of a bit about how important sleep is, but there's a few things you can do to sort of optimize your sleep. So one, to help you sleep better, but two, to help you remain asleep and have good quality sleep. And it's different for everybody, but there's a few important components. One is your food timing. So if you want to eat at least 2 to 3 hours before you're going to go to sleep. Okay. So you don't want to eat right around the time you're going to sleep, because what that does is revs up your digestive system. And so that tells your body that, okay, it's time to eat and digest, not time to rest. So what you need to sleep is melatonin. You want as much melatonin as possible created. That'll allow you to get into a nice deep sleep. Now, if you eat just before bed, it's going to slow down your production of melatonin. So I recommend at least 2 to 3 hours. Some people can have a little bit of carbs before they go to bed, and that actually helps. It really just depends. But for most people, you want to not eat before. You want to sort of fast before you go to bed. So that's a big one. And you can kind of test it out. So try it. You know, try not eating before and see how it works. Maybe try to have a little bit of healthy carbs before. See how that works. The next thing is blue light. So this is super important.
You see what I just did, didn't you?
Was that a red light? Yeah. Was that a red light you got on there?
I turned it to red instead and took the blue out.
Yeah. Nice. So this is huge. So I'll explain what this is. So blue light comes from the sun, and this is what, you know, wakes us up, gives us energy, tells our body that it's daytime. It's time for us to move and go function. But when the sun goes down, that blue light goes away, and this tells our body, okay, it's time to prepare for bed. Our melatonin starts to increase the production, and you know, we can sleep through the night. The problem in today's world is that our lights in our house have blue light. Our devices, so our phones, our iPads, our computers, our tablets, our TVs, they all have blue light. Even your electronics in your house, like your DVD player, people still use those, I don't know. But they have the little lights that come out. These are all giving off blue light, and it tricks your brain into thinking that it's the sun is still up. So this slows down your production of melatonin and doesn't allow you to sort of prepare for bed. So there's a few sort of things that you can do to help with this. One, you could wear blue light blocking glasses. That tends to help at night. You can turn all your devices on night mode. So your phone has the settings for it. Your laptop, you can download a program called, I think it's called Flux, and that'll basically get rid of all the blue light on your computer, and your screen will turn kind of orange. Mm-hmm. I like to turn off your overhead lights when the sun is starting to go down. Use just like lamps. I actually bought red LED lights, or not LED, sorry, but red incandescent lights, and use that in my bedroom. So really just trying to get rid of the blue light when the sun goes down, because humans naturally are supposed to sleep along with the sun. So we have this circadian rhythm that goes along with the sun, but we sort of shifted that with all these lights and devices that we have. So this is a huge one, and this is a big one for staying asleep too. So playing with your lighting is going to be big. And then the other thing is, if you happen to be a light sleeper, make sure your room is blacked out. Make it as dark as you possibly can. If you need to wear a night mask or a face mask, then do that. I picked one up here that I use in Bali. I used to have a room that was blacked out. Maybe you can put in earplugs, because if you hear a sound, that can tend to make people wake up in the middle of the night. So that always helps. Those are kind of the three biggest, I would say. The other thing too is getting sunlight during the day. So when you get enough sunlight during the day, that's going to allow you to produce more melatonin at night, so you can actually fall asleep and stay asleep longer. You find if you stay in an office all day and you don't get a whole lot of sunlight, that's when insomnia comes in. You can't really sleep. So, you know, as soon as you wake up, get outside, get some sun into your eyes, however you have to do it. I like to have a coffee outside, or even just sitting by the window if you have to, if it's too cold out. But get that sunlight. That's going to help it as well.
Awesome. So where can everybody find you? On all the platforms, YouTube, Instagram, your podcast, give it up.
So I mainly hang out on Instagram. So I would check that out first. It's at healthsimple_. So you can catch me on there. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram. I'll reply to everybody. I have my own podcast as well, where I sort of interview health experts on different topics. So that's Health Simple Radio podcast. I'm on all the different channels. So Spotify, iTunes, whatever you use, I'll be on there. So check that out. If you're interested in coaching, if you want to optimize your health, or you want to lose weight, or you need a lifestyle change, you can go to my website, which you've already mentioned, which is healthsimpleinfo.com. If you check out the health coaching section, you'll see kind of everything that I do there. But also on the website, you can get recipes, you can see my blogs, you can kind of get everything you need from there as well. So that's kind of it. I have a YouTube channel, which you can just go to Health Simple on YouTube. Mainly it's my podcast. We have a cooking show on there, and I'm about to start releasing some other content, which is like instructional training videos and other sort of things like that. So feel free to check that out as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Emmett, this was a blast. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we conclude. Remember, we are all billionaires. When the first cell met the other cell and then they began to replicate, 30 days later, you were a billion cells. And it only prospered from there. If you think about your gut flora, there's a trillion cells. There's a galaxy. There's a universe built within you. You are a fractal being of the omniverse. As above, so below. What you think manifests in the body. As above, so below. You actually live in the fifth dimension, but you're controlling something that's in this 3D dimension. So you think something, but then the body reacts in this world. So treat yourself with great care. And when you are alone, take some time with yourself, as I always say. Look in the mirror, look in your own eyes, look at the canal that brings air into your body, and realize that we are fractal. Those little nebulae, those little galaxies that we call eyes, they give you the window to your soul. So when you see someone else who has that similar quality, treat them with love, honor, and respect. Till next time, peace.